Hello everyone, good morning to one and all ma. Today we are discussing the concept that is nothing but security, third concept in unit number 5, security. In that third concept, grid security infrastructure. Previous class we listen what are the trust models for grid security environment, and then the second concept that is nothing but authentication and authorization methods. And coming to the third topic, that is nothing but grid security infrastructure. What does exactly now we can see? Before we are discussing the grid security infrastructure, briefly I can explain what does grid security infrastructure, how it is enhancingly deployed, as it how it will be dynamic, inter-domain and distributed computing at data collaborations. We can see. Okay. What exactly in the sense grid is increasingly deployed as a common approach to constructing a dynamic and inter-domain and as well as distributed computing and data collaborations. What exactly in the grid security infrastructure we see a lack of security or a trust between different services. What I am saying, a lack of security or a trust between different services. It is still an important challenge of the grid. What I meant to say, a lack of security or a trust between different services is still an important challenge of the grid. So the grid requires you a security infrastructure with the following properties. How is it easy to use and conforms with the virtual organization security, and it will needs while working well with site policies of each and every resource provider site, and as well as to provides appropriate in a suitable authentication and encryption of all interactions. Okay, now we can learn about the grid security infrastructure is an important step toward satisfying these requirements. As a well-known security solution in the grid environment, what we want to say in the sense, some grid security infrastructure, it is a portion of the Globus toolkit, and it provides some fundamental security services. We are needed to support grids, including supporting for message protection and authentication and delegation and authorization. What I want to say in the sense, some grid security infrastructure, what it enables in the sense, it enables some secure authentication and as well as a communication over an open network, and it permits a mutual authentication across and among distributed sites with a single sign-on capability. So no centrally managed security system, it is need to required, and the grid, how the grid maintains the integrity of its members and local policies. So we are studying about the grid security infrastructure supports both message level security, which supports web service security standard, and one more web service secure conversation specification. What they provide to provide some message protection for a simple object access protocol messages, and as well as a transport level security, which means authentication via transport level security with support for X.509 proxy certificate. What certificate we want to support for transport level security? With support for X.509 proxy certificates. Okay, this is our briefly introduction of grid security infrastructure. What it supports both message level security as well as transport level security, which supports message level security, web service security standard, and as well as web service secure conversation a specification, and we want to provide some message protection for simple object access protocol messages, and we want to transport level security, which means that authentication via transport level security with support for X.509 proxy certificates. Now we want to study about that is nothing but the concept grid security infrastructure. Now we can learn about this briefly. Grid security infrastructure is a portion of the Globus toolkit. What it is a portion? Globus toolkit portion, and what it provides a fundamental security. What it provides fundamental security services needed to support grids. What it support needed to support grids, and including a support for message protection, authentication, and delegation, and as well as authorization. And coming here, we have to learn a grid security infrastructure. What it supports, what it provides you. It supports a message level security, which supports the web service. WS in the sense of web service, web service security standard, and the web service secure a conversation specification. What it provides in the sense to provide some message protection for SOAP messages, in the sense simple object access protocol messages. Now we can study about the second thing, that is nothing but a grid security infrastructure supports a transport level security, which means authentication via transport level security with support for X.509 proxy certificates. Now we can study about what exactly a Gsi functional layers, what it provides exactly you. A grid security infrastructure functional layers. Grid security infrastructure provides a distinct web service and pre-web service authentication and as well as authorization capabilities. What I meant to say in the sense are both build on the same base, and namely the X.509 standard and entity certificates, and as well as proxy certificates, which are used to identify persistent entities, entities such as users and servers, and we want to support the temporary delegation of privileges. Okay, a temporary delegation of privileges to other entities respectively. Okay, now we can study about here the thought grid security infrastructure may be a thought of as being composed of 4 distinct functions. How many functions, 4 distinct functions. First one is message protection. What protection? A message protection. And the second one is authentication. And the third one is delegation. And finally, a 4th distinct function is authorization. Now we can study about the transport level security and web service security, and one more, web service secure conversation specification, how the message level are used as a message protection mechanisms in combination with a simple object access protocol. Okay, now we can study about briefly the diagram explains you, the figure illustrates you a grid security infrastructure functional layers at the message and a transport level. Okay, look at this, at the message level and as well as a transport level. Here look at this diagram, the figure shows you in below in the box, first box is message level, and then second level is message level, and the third level is transport level. First, we want to format the message by using a simple object access protocol. And this above message protection, how the message protection in web service security and as well as web service secure conversation. By using this message level here, web service security, and at transport level we are using transport level security. And coming to the authentication, what are the message level we are using in the sense X.509 proxy certificates and as well as entity certificate. And coming to the next message level, we are using some username and as well as a password. And coming to the transport level, we are using X.509 proxy entities and as well as we want to use X.509 end entity certificates. What ma? End entity certificates. And coming to the delegation, we are using some message level there X.509 proxy certificates. And coming to the transport level there X.509 proxy certificates. And coming to the authorization, what exactly authorization? In that we are using the figure authorization SAML and grid map file. And coming to the next message level, we are using a grid map file. And coming to the transport level, we are using SAML and grid map file. We are using what does exactly the SAML, how it the abbreviation in the sense security assertion markup language. What I meant to say now ma, security assertion markup language, SAML abbreviation security assertion markup language. What does the figure illustrates you exactly in the sense? Listen carefully. The figure illustrates you a grid security infrastructure may be thought of as being composed of 4 distinct functions. First one is message protection, authentication, delegation and authorization. Coming to this transport level security or web service security and one more web service secure conversation. In that message protection, how that message level are used as a message protection mechanism in combination with simple object access protocol and X.509 end entity certificates, or we can use username and a password. So we are used as authentication credentials. Now X.509 proxy certificates and web service trust are used for a delegation. Okay, listen carefully. An authorization framework allows for a variety of authorization schemes including a grid map file, and we are defined by a service as a custom authorization handler, and we are access to an authorization service via the security assertion markup language protocol. In addition, and associated security tools provide for the storage of X.509 credentials, and we can say my proxy and delegation services. So we are mapping between a grid security infrastructure and other authentication mechanisms. For example, we can take my proxy for one-time passwords and maintenance of information for authorization. Okay, so the web services a portion of Globus toolkit for uses simple object access protocol as their message protocol for communication. So message protection can be provided either by a transport level security which transports a simple object access protocol messages over transport level security, or by message level security, which is signing and or encryption portions of the simple object access protocol message by using web service security standard. This is the concept of the diagram explanation. Okay, now we can explain about briefly a transport level security. Listen carefully. While I am telling about a transport level security, it entails simple object access protocol messages conveyed over a complete network connection. Okay, it is protected by a transport level security. So a transport level security provides for both integrity protection and as well as privacy via encryption. So a transport level security is normally used in conjunction with X.509 credentials for authentication purpose, but it can also be used without such credentials to provide message protection without authentication, and oftenly referred to as anonymous transport level security. In this mode of operation, we can explain the authentication may be done by username and as well as password in a simple object access protocol message. Okay, this is the concept of a transport level security. And coming to the message level security in detail, I can explain. Grid security infrastructure provides message level security for message protection for simple object access protocol messages by implementing web service security standards and as well as web security secure conversation specification. We are using here web service security standard from OASIS. Okay, it defines a framework for applying a security to individual simple object access protocol messages. Now we are using here web service secure conversation specification is a proposed standard. It is a proposed standard from IBM and Microsoft that allows for an initial exchange of messages to establish a particular security context which can then be used to protect the subsequent messages. What I meant to say now, Microsoft and IBM that allows you for an initial exchange of messages to establish a security context which can then be used, we can protect a subsequent messages. This is the concept of message level security. Now we can continue this topic in a further video. Okay, up to now, thank you ma.